This is Late Night Health. This is the radio show that cares about the most important part of your life, your health. Sitting in with me again is John Bandcamp for the insane Daryl Wayne, who's still away, and we look forward to having Daryl come back very soon. John, thanks for being here with us and keeping all the buttons going. We're going to do a couple of things during this hour. The latter part of our show today, we're going to talk about how doctors need to take back medicine, okay, and healthcare. And in fact, even our first guest is a doctor, a psychologist, and we'll find out about his thoughts on that too, because he's got to deal with insurance companies too, and we'll find out about that. This is May, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month. We go to Manhattan, and we go to the founder of the Thrive Center of Psychology, and we're going to talk with Alex Alvarado. Dr. Alvarado, welcome to Late Night Health.
Mark, so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Is there still a stigma when somebody says, I'm going to therapy? Is that still there?
You know, it's interesting, and I think it is still there to an extent. Definitely not like it used to be. One thing that's interesting is I really think it depends on your location too. Places like New York City, California, Los Angeles, you don't see the stigma as much. In fact, it's almost brought up in common conversation. But I believe there still are parts of the U.S. where that stigma is pretty heavy.
And yet places, you know, in the Midwest, I suppose, the South.
Midwest, South, yeah. A lot of times metropolitan cities tend to be less stigmatized, I would say, in terms of therapy, but some of the rural areas.
Thrive is also in Miami, which is the South. I mean, you know, it is. Is that stigma there?
You know, it's an interesting population. I'd say you know, Miami is very, it's very north in a lot of ways. You know, I don't know if I consider it real, you know, the real South. And once you get up to, you know, the Tallahassee area, then you start seeing some real South. But it's even there. I'd say the stigma is a lot heavier there than compared to places like New York City and Los Angeles.
Got it. Hey, it's the South if they serve sweet tea.
Yeah.
Right. In restaurants. When you go to a psychologist, let me back that up. Yeah. Should everybody go into therapy at one time or another?
You know, I believe everyone can benefit from therapy, and I think the best rule of thumb that I've heard is that if you're ever thinking about or have thought about going to see a therapist, chances are it's time.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Right. And there was a radio psychiatrist years ago who said, you know, therapy should be short term. You have an issue, let's solve it. I know somebody who's gone to the same therapist and probably built up a yacht or a sailboat at least over 25 years. What's your take on that?
That's interesting. You know, I really think it depends on what you're looking for in therapy. There are a lot of newer age therapies that are primarily short term. You know, 12 sessions is really, you know, that mean. But some of the older versions of psychotherapy are very long term. You know, it's a complete treatment. These days, for the most part, if you're going to see a therapist and it is short term, most of what you're coming in for usually is alleviated around that 12 sessions. And most people if they want to stay on after, it's usually at their own accord. You know, if they want tune-ups or just like to kind of come in and get that outside perspective on a weekly basis.
So you have a doctorate, you have a PhD in psychology. They say that a lot of people, I'm assuming that's what it said here.
It's a Psy.D. It's a doctor of psychology, very similar, less research-based, more clinical.
Got it. I've been told that a lot of reasons that psychologists go into this field is because they may have a screw loose or two.
That's interesting you say that, because it is one thing that I try to look for when I'm actually interviewing other psychologists. Because you're not wrong. There are definitely a lot of people who go into this industry for the wrong reason, trying to fix themselves and unfortunately unsuccessfully, do so in a lot of ways. And it's definitely something to be weary of. I'm not going to lie.
And why did you go into this field? I mean, you seem well adjusted.
I say you only just met me, so I can hold it together for just so long.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, but actually, probably not so unique story as well. My mother was actually a therapist, and we grew up in a small town, and it didn't matter where we went, mall, grocery store, movie theater, we would always get stopped by one of her clients, and my family was always left with the client's family, which would always talk about how grateful they were for my mother's work and how much work they did with the client. And so
I think that's really great.
Inspiring. Yeah.
I think that's super. Your mom must be proud of you.
I hope so. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really good. You mentioned 12 sessions. We're going to fix something. You want to lose weight. You can't sleep. Whatever it might be. Does insurance play into that? And how do you work with insurance?
So
let me just add. Every health practitioner that works in that takes insurance, they hate insurance. So it's because it's a quagmire.
It is, and a separate job. And I've done my best to not incorporate or deal with insurance in our practices. So, we actually don't deal with insurances. However, a big part of our, what we do in our industry is really help people understand their benefits. Because even though we don't take insurance, sometimes people have out-of-network benefits and the insurance company will pay for that. But no one has any idea they have out-of-network benefits. So a lot of, what my front office staff does is a lot of educating. But luckily, we've been able to make it this far without having to work with too many insurance companies.
That's really good. We're going to be taking a break shortly, and I want to just see if we could squeeze this in. You and I are speaking through Zoom, even though we're only recording the audio, and Zoom and other technologies have become, the way because of the pandemic for sure. But also, I have to get in my car, I have to drive to the therapist office, I have to pay for parking, go up, and then find out that the therapist is 20 minutes late, right? Mm. Same thing with a doctor. But when Zoom, all right, you're 20 minutes late, but I'm sitting there working or watching afternoon talk shows, whatever it might be. Is this a great way of providing therapy services?
Oh, definitely. I think video telehealth has really opened up how many people can receive services from in the mental health industry. And exactly that. There's a lot of people, who you don't count in the time going to an office, sitting in a waiting room where, with telehealth, you just open up the computer, especially places like Southern California, who wants to be sitting in traffic. I think the most people want to see, usually see therapists after work, 5 to 7. And I'd imagine most people in California don't really want to drive between 5 and 7. So this really opens up and kind of removes a lot of barriers for therapy for them.
And Manhattan, where you are currently, it would be the same thing. I mean, the streets can be packed with cars and taxis and Ubers and Lyfts and whatever else there's out there, right?
Similar. I would say Manhattan is more likely to be more in-person oriented than other places.
Oh, interesting.
The reason being because there's not as much space here. People don't have as much space in their apartments to have quiet conversations. During the heat of the pandemic, we had a therapist who had a client who was on their escape stairway, in the freezing cold to have their therapy session because there was nowhere in the apartment that they could speak freely. Yeah.
Wow. Well, when we come back, let's figure out how to pick a psychologist, a therapist for us, and you'll give us some pointers in that. Our guest is Alex Alvarado. He is a doctor of a psychologist, and he is the founder of the Thriving Center of Psychology. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the not so insane John Van Camp, sitting in for Daryl Wayne. Join us at latenighthealth.com. We will have a pretty picture of Alex Alvarado up there and some information about him as well. Don't go away as Late Night Health continues.
If you're listening to Late Night Health right now, you're part of the growing target of baby boomers we're serving. Hi, I'm Daryl Wayne, producer of Late Night Health, inviting you to join the Late Night Health family. If you have any business targeting the growing boomer market, Late Night Health is the ideal advertising vehicle for you. From vitamins to insurance, alternative health to Western-style medicine, Late Night Health caters to the growing population of those over 40 years old. This vibrant demographic has expendable income to fight aging, purchase travel, take care of aging parents, or just have fun. Find out about the advertising opportunities with Late Night Health. Call us at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308, or email us at info@latenighthealth.com. That's info@latenighthealth.com. Join Late Night Health as we empower people to take charge of their own health care. Call now at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308.
Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com. Role models. They can make all the difference. In our world today, they have never been more important. One of the nation's most successful mentoring organizations is Jewish Big Brothers Big Sisters of Los Angeles. Their mission is to assist youth in achieving their full potential through innovative and impactful programs. And no nonprofit agency does it better. Jewish Big Brothers Big Sisters of LA serves Jewish children, boys and girls in our local community with a mentoring program that's been going strong since 1915. That's only the beginning. This nationally known agency owns and operates Camp Bob Waldorf. Its summer camping and weekend retreat programs enrich the lives of youth throughout Greater Los Angeles. Then there's a college support program, and last but not least, work that helps kids all over the world through the Teen Talk app. Want to learn more? Go to jbbbsla.org. Donate. Get involved. There's no better way to make a difference.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, Darrell Wayne.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?
Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with John Van Camp, sitting in for the vacationing insane Daryl Wayne. And we're talking with Alex Alvarado. He is the founder of the Thriving Center of Psychology. Before we talk about how to pick a shrink, what is the Thriving Center of Psychology?
Sure, yeah. So we are a large private practice out of a few states. We're actually in New York, California, Florida, Oregon, Minnesota, New Jersey, and New Mexico. I think that's everything. So, but we base, our whole thing is really basing, providing quality evidence-based therapy. Like we'll talk about here is how to pick a therapist. I try to basically do a lot of the work for our clients in terms of finding therapists who, are of quality, well-trained, only use, therapies backed by science and are personable and, comfortable to speak to. From there, then we have a matchmaking system to help our clients match with the, therapist, which is it's a short questionnaire to really help us place them. And then we'll talk about, we also have most important part is a free consultation to make sure that people really do feel confident in their choice.
Oh my, how long?
15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes, which is, it's the most important part of finding a therapist is that 15-minute consult. If you're ever looking for a therapist, be sure to ask for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you still see patients?
I still see a few. I do like to keep my pulse on the industry, and to still kind of keep that psychologist, about me. I don't have it's not like, a few years ago when I had about 30 per week, right now it's 3-4 around that.
Well, because you're the head honcho of this thing, you're running a business.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. I can't, it's not, it's a lot of hats to wear right now.
And it's not 9 to 5 because you're an entrepreneur, you're working for yourself. So, you may have to cover for somebody, and I can think all kinds of things that could happen.
But no.
They didn't tell you that when you went into business for yourself that it's harder than you thought, right?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. You definitely. What's that?
I was going to say John knows. He's the owner of Boss Radio, and he's always working 7 days a week. How do I pick a psychologist? I was being flippant and said shrink. How do I know that the person that I'm talking to, say on Zoom, is right for me?
Sure. Yeah. No, and it's not an easy process, and even for me, as a clinical psychologist, it's hard to find a therapist, and so I can't imagine the overwhelm people have who are not in this industry. I know the questions to ask for the most part. I know the answers, right? And I'll tell you the biggest actual mistake I see a lot of people make is they go for the most convenient option, right? The number one on Google, right? Just because someone's the number one on Google, doesn't mean they're really the number one therapist, right? The best marketed doesn't always mean the best therapist. Another mistake I usually see is, maybe a referral from a friend or family member, right? Which just because someone was the best for your friend or family member doesn't necessarily mean they're the best for you. They could be coming in for something specific, or you might need something specific. I think these are great starts, don't get me wrong. But just solely on those alone, I would say, you might be making a mistake.
When you need a handy man or handy person, because I have 10 thumbs and I can't do some things around my house, and I always get a referral, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same then?
Well, it depends. Maybe you need a TV hung where someone needed their bed put together, and you're not getting the best guy to put your TV up. You're getting the best guy to put beds together, So, it really depends. It could be. It very well could be. All I'm saying is I think there needs to be a little bit more due diligence. And basically the biggest mistake is not following up with that 15-minute consult, getting them on the phone to talk to them.
Do other therapists and other groups, do they offer that 15 minutes as well?
I would say a lot of people do. I would say because it benefits both, right? It benefits the potential client to get to know the therapist and to figure out, okay, is this the best therapist for me? But also benefits the therapist to find out, okay, is this client, actually someone who's a good candidate for my therapy, which is equally important. So I would say, for the most part, they should, and a good percentage do. I might look at it as a red flag if I don't get that 15-minute consult.
And this is really a matchmaking endeavor. Okay. Yeah. It's almost like going on a date. It's like going on e-date or whatever it might be, because that therapist becomes very involved with your life. And it can be intimate. It shouldn't be physically intimate. There are all kinds of murder mystery stories about psychologists and their patients that end up doing, terrible things to one another, one trying to kill the other and things like that. But I digress. My point is that matchmaking it's a good term, because having a therapist is intimate.
Yeah, they actually say that about 70% successful therapy, 70% of that is really about the rapport between the client and the therapist. So it's a really big deal, being able to feel like you're being heard by the therapist, or being able to, actually trust this person to, talk about some really intimate situations.
One of the things that I've heard from people who don't believe in therapy is, why would I talk to a stranger about whatever issue is bothering me and just talk? So I talk about marital issues, or I'm having problems at work, whatever that issue might be. Do today's therapists offer plans to make whatever situation better? Or do they just say, and what do you think you should do?
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I think it really depends on the needs of the client, and that's something the therapist, and the client figure out together. Sometimes they might need to feel supported. Sometimes they might, need to have more of a goal-oriented session. It really depends on, situation to situation and client to client. There's some people that come in who just want to, process. They don't want answers right now. They just want to process. And there's some people the opposite. There's some people that like, I have a situation and I need to figure this out, and I would like some answers. So I think it's more of that's why the therapy process is really collaborative. So figuring out what the needs are and how to accomplish that.
Alex, thank you very much for your time. I'm calling you Alex, Dr. Alvarado.
Alex is more.
Thank you very much for spending some time with us here at Late Night Health. If you want information about the Thriving Center of Psychology, and I'm assuming the thriving is so that you can thrive and thrive in this life. Thank you very much. You can find out some more by visiting us at latenighthealth.com. We'll have a link to the website and a pretty picture, as I said earlier, of Dr. Alvarado. Thank you again for coming here, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
I really like that. Thanks so much, Mark.
All right. Thank you. I'm Mark Alyn. Late Night Health continues. We're going to talk about healthcare and what we can do to fix it. Don't go away. More coming.